Hi there. My name is Derek Williams, and I'm with the Minority Engineering Program. And welcome to MEP Live. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Good. We're so glad to have you. And we're going to start off a little differently today because we want to have introductions. We want to first of all, I want to introduce you to our guest panelists, and then we're going to follow up and we're going to find out who's in the audience as well. So, first of all, my name is Derek Williams, and I'm the person responsible for K-12 and undergraduate programming uh, here at the Minority Engineering Program. You're also going to meet the director of the Minority Engineering Program, Miss Virginia Womack, and she's going to be talking. She's going to close out the program. But I don't know. Do you want to say hello?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. I see a couple of names I know. Mr. Fitch, I've been hoping to see you on there. Can you hear me? Oh, and Alex, I'm seeing a lot of names of people that I know, and I'm really happy to see you on the call. Derek, I sent out a last email blast too, so we may have other people dropping in. I know usually we do this at 6.
That's fine.
So
That's
we may be a
right.
little bit different, but it's good to get it done early. But welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see you here. We've got some good guests here. We've got the money lady.
I need to talk to her separate about that.
I think everybody wants to talk to her.
Oh, yes. That is the consensus these days.
But Lori, I will say I purchased some licenses for scholarships, and they were featured on the Shark Tank. And they've got, I've been checking on some students and they've gotten a lot of responses from Scholly. So I'm purchasing licenses to give to students that have accepted their mission so that they can use Scholly and try to help find scholarships external that way, sort of a matching program. I'll tell you more about that. But hopefully I'll get those students that are here today to let me know and I can send you a link so that you can go ahead and register and get started. So I've charged Scholly to help these students find money because we're limited what we have at Purdue, but there are scholarships out there. So I want to just throw that out as a precursor and say welcome to everybody. We're just happy to see you and hope you're all safe. I hope your families are safe. I know this is a rough period for all of us, but we're really concerned about the families and the students and how this must feel. It feels really crazy for me because I've been in the house for so long, but it's a strange environment, but we're going to do everything we can to support you, and we're here to help you if you have any questions. So Derek will introduce the people we have here from Purdue, and then we'll go from there.
I was going to introduce, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to introduce them now, but I think I'm going to save them for last after we find out who's in the audience and why they're here. So we're just going to quickly go through. I see Alex Crespo. If you could, you guys, everyone unmute yourself so you can introduce yourself. So I see Alex Crespo. He just disappeared. I see Bobby. Bobby, are you here? Bobby E. Can you unmute yourself? We just want to say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing? Where are you from?
I'm from Carmel, Indiana.
Where in Indiana?
Carmel, Indiana. It's just north of Indianapolis.
Yes, and what made you tune into the call today?
I just kind of saw this program. I kind of wanted to check it out. I think I might be a little late to seeing it.
No,
but it seems interesting.
Good. You're good, and it's also going to be on YouTube, so you can watch our past episodes. Now, I also see P Health, and I see Chris, Joey.
Hi, everybody, it's Chris. I'm actually Joey's father.
Okay.
We're from Seattle. Joey is in the midst of his online calc course right now. He has accepted his spot at Purdue. He's excited to come, and we've been watching these calls together and have really gotten a lot of value. So I'm here to take notes on his behalf.
And we are so glad to have you. So we've got P. Gibbs Lotus. P. Gibbs Lotus. You can take yourself off mute. And we also have P. Crespo.
I'm sorry. Here you go. I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Lotus. I'm actually a parent of Kai Gibbs, and he has accepted and submitted everything. And I think I'm on the call today to get the additional information in regards to the scholarships, housing, when will he hear on that, how will course registration happen, orientation, etc. Everything.
Everything.
What's your son's name?
Kai. He's sitting right next to me. Say hi, Kai.
All right.
Hi, Kai.
Hi, Kai. Okay. We're glad to have you. Okay, we've got P. McDaniel Richard.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Richard McDaniel. I'm the parent of Chemo McDaniel. We're from Portland, Oregon, and just like Chris, I'm just here to listen in and see how I can take notes for my son as he's away right now.
Exactly. Okay, that's fine. And then we also have, I saw it's moving around on me. Did we get Alex Crispo? Oh, we got Dalton Fitch.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
I'm from Avon, Indiana. I'm here to learn about scholarship opportunities. I've been working on some, and I'm always down for more.
Exactly.
Dalton, have you accepted your offer yet?
I have, definitely.
You just made our day.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we've got Bobby E. Have you got a chance to say hello?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for hosting this. Bobby Emery from Valparaiso, Indiana. I've accepted for the engineering program and really.
Yay.
And just gathering information, particularly about scholarships and how V-Star and beyond are going to work.
Okay. I see Cueva Pablo. Have you had an opportunity to speak yet?
No, hi, I'm Pablo Cueva's mom. He's taking an online class right now. So we are from Mexico, and he accepted to first year engineering.
Yay!
We've never been there. So he was going to visit in March, but of course he couldn't make it. So
right.
Any answers we get are very useful, and we're hoping to learn as much as we can. So thanks.
Yes, in this COVID environment, we're all doing the best we can. Now I see Josh here. Josh.
Oh yeah, hi. My name is Josh Rosello. I'm obviously a senior. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I got accepted to Purdue for engineering.
Yay.
So I thought I'd just drop by and listen to what the experience is going to be like.
Yeah.
Do you play the violin?
I do. Oh yeah, it's my it's my profile picture.
That is
yeah.
great.
I'm also considering joining the orchestra there.
Purdue has a fine orchestra, so that might be some. There's a 2-credit-hour class, and I know they look. If you're truly gifted, I know they'd love to have you. I played the orchestra my freshman year at Purdue. Okay, we've got Lisa. Did we call you already, Lisa? You can unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Austin's mom, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you?
Good to hear your voice.
Likewise. I'm trying to get Austin to Purdue. I think he's on the line.
Okay.
I was just sending a message to Bonnie. We talk about Bonnie all the time.
Okay.
These are promised people.
Meeting her. I absolutely love Purdue. As you know, we've been there several times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it'll
Has Austin accepted his offer yet?
He has not accepted his offer.
Okay.
Looking for more money.
Well, we're gonna work on that. I got the money woman on the line.
Austin called me today, and he's also interested. He wants to be considered for the Scholly opportunity as well.
Yeah, anybody that wants a Scholly license, and again, I purchased those, so that should not be anything to hinder you. But what I need you to do is inbox while you're on this Zoom. Just send me your email address, and I'll pick that up.
Okay, I will.
Okay, so I can send that out. Try to send it out to you today.
So we've contracted with a company called Scholly, Mrs. Womack has, which finds scholarships for students. MEP is paying the fee, and so if you're interested, you need to get on the chat, and we need you to list your name, and then also if you have questions, because we're about to move on to our questions, our folks who are here to answer all the questions that you have. So is there anybody that we left out that didn't get a chance to say hey? Because I know folks kind of come in as we're going on. Today's focus is geared toward sharing success strategies, transition to major, learning about housing options, learning communities, making connections. And so we focus today's session on 4 key areas. One is affordability. And so Lori Pence, who's Associate Director of Student Success for the College of Engineering, who we keep on calling the Money Lady, is here, as well as housing and learning communities. Randy Purvis, a very knowledgeable resource. She's going to cover both of those areas. So if you have questions related to housing, questions related to learning communities, and of course, MEP has a learning community you may not know about. So we'll talk about that. Preparing for Purdue, we've got the director of the Office of Future Engineers here. His name is David Boker. And then before anyone else goes, we're going to start off with an academic advisor. We figured that you would probably want to be in direct touch with an academic advisor because they know all about AP credit. They'll know about your classes transferring. They know about the first year classes. So we're going to let Jeff start out this conversation. Jeffrey Myers, first year engineering.
Sorry, Derek.
You were probably muted.
Yeah, I was. I forgot to take it off. Hi, everyone. Jeff Myers. I am a senior academic advisor in first year engineering. And like Derek said, can help you with if you're have any questions about AP credit, IB credit, what the first year plan of study looks like, transition to major process, what V-Star is really going to look like this year. I've been at Purdue specifically in first year engineering since 2013. So I think I have a pretty good idea about really what's going to be happening. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Great. So are there questions related to do we have any questions about AP credit or IB credit?
Yes. For this year, how are the AP credits going to work since classes are kind of cut short? And I hear that many colleges are still accepting some form of AP credit, but I was wondering what the status was for Purdue.
Purdue, as far as accepting AP credit, I have not heard of anything changing with that. Really going to your academic advisor, whenever you speak with him, her, is really going to want to have a conversation with you, because my understanding with the math exam specifically, that's the emails that I've seen referencing quite a bit, is it's only covering about 75% of the material. So a decent chunk is being cut out just because of how everything is going online and etc. So your advisor is really going to want to have a really good conversation with you, and it's going to center mostly on how comfortable are you with the material? How comfortable are you with thinking outside the box? Because that's a lot of what you're going to be tested on in these classes and experiencing. It's not going to be so much of you know these concepts. That's going to come in the form of, you know, your homeworks and your quizzes and things like that. It's going to be more of, can you think outside the box? Can you apply this? Can you apply these formulas, these concepts in new areas? And so that's what your exams are going to be on. So a lot of students do very well on the homeworks and quizzes because the concepts they've already learned, but thinking outside of the box is maybe not something they've had too much interaction with. So that's really what the conversation should center on. How comfortable are you with that actual application experience? And if you're not too comfortable with it, then actually stay in with the class that you would start out with or whatever. You know, maybe that's in your interest. It'd have to be really up to you and how comfortable do you think you are with the material. But since things have changed a little bit, you want to be cognizant of that.
So Jeff, I'd like to ask a question related to scores on AP, because we've had a lot of students who have recently taken the AP exam. What scores do you need to be, you know, to get placement into, say, what scores will you need for physics, the calculus, chemistry?
For almost all of the exams, you need to get at least a 3. But with the physics exams, all of those, and first year engineering only accepts physics C mechanics. There's another physics C E&M, that's going to be for your professional school. But if you have physics B, I think they now call it physics 1, physics 2, things like that, we don't accept. But for all of those physics exams, you must have at least, or you must have a 5. For most of the other exams, a 4 is what is required, but with chemistry, a 3 can also yield credit. It would yield credit for chemistry 111, and then a student would take chemistry 112 in that spring semester if they really wanted to do that, and we will use those 2 classes together in place of our chemistry 115 class. Some exams, like the language exams, for instance, a 3 will yield credit, and it generally yields credit for 101 and 102. If you get a 4, then it's 101, 102, and 201, and then 5 is 101 through 202. So they vary. Some of the exams do vary a little bit, but by and large, most of the exams you have at least 4.
That's great. That's great. Can you talk to us about transitioning, you know, the very first year? What is that like in terms of, I guess my question in essence is, in order to get into transition into the major of your choice, say you want to go into ECE or Chem E, what are they going to be looking at? How does this transition into an actual engineering discipline work?
So there are a lot of different things, and keep in mind, you know, this year is very unique with the situation that we're in. But in general, how it usually works out is try to recommend a student obtain at least a 3.2 GPA, which is average, 3 GPA, also a 3.2 EAI. And forget what the acronyms there. Think of it as your first year engineering course GPA. So those two could easily be different. Some students may want to start in Calculus 3 because they have Calc 1 and Calc 2 from AP credit or IB or whatever. So they start in Calculus 3, that is going to be a GPA class, but that Calculus 3 has nothing to do with engineering. It's a professional school class. So it does not go into your EAI, your first year engineering GPA. So those could be different. But to be competitive, at least a 3.2, 3.2. It would also be beneficial if a student had at least 20 hours in the College of Science, College of Engineering. And if you're going into like civil, mechanical, aero, construction, CGT, Computer Graphic Technology 3164 is also an acceptable class for that 20 credit hours. Those are going to be the main things that they're looking at. Do you have the 3.2, 3.2? And I'm not saying that you wouldn't be accepted if you don't have those. It's just, this is really what's going to make you really competitive. Is 3.2, 3.2, 20 credit hours, and those subjects that I mentioned, not repeating any first year classes, etc. If you don't meet all of those recommendations, then it could be of any number of different things. Really what the schools are wanting to look at is performance in, specific classes, namely calculus, physics, things like that. Maybe how rigorous of a semester did you have? How many credit hours did you take, et cetera. So it turns into a really holistic approach at that point.
That's great. We have from the chat, and guys, if you have questions, also it can be about what we're currently talking about or any questions that you have, feel free to put them in the chat. So we've got a question from Bobby. Bobby E says, for an honors student in engineering, how will V-Star work with two different advisors?
So that's a little difficult for me to answer because I don't work with honors students. They're an entirely separate entity within the College of Engineering. But I believe what your arrangement is going to be, your like honors college advisor would be dealing more with those honors college classes. But you will have a honors first year engineering advisor, and that's going to be the one that you would work with quite often, dealing with your course registration and et cetera. So that should be the person. I believe it's usually Clinton or Susie. They're going to be the ones that actually reach out to you and want to do that V-Star information.
That's great. Can you tell us some of the common, as an advisor, the common mistakes that's a lot of students make, which could really cost you later? Are there any? So I'm really asking for advice, things that they want to really be careful about.
The biggest one that I see is, I guess I'll step back a little bit. There is something that the university has new incoming students do. It's called a student information form, SIF. Purdue loves to use acronyms, so it's SIF. So if I ever reference it or if anybody reads it, that's what it is. It's going to ask you a number of different things. What your favorite subjects were in high school, what you are thinking about as far as a career, are you thinking about medical school, any number of different things. One of the things it usually asks is how much time did you spend studying in high school? And then how much time do you think you're going to be studying here on campus? And a lot of times you might see students that list is how much they're going to be spending, how much time they're going to be spending studying throughout the semester each week. That's really going to be one class. Class like engineering 1, generally your first semester, you'll spend 6 to 8 hours usually just in that one class. When you get to the spring semester and you're usually in 132, that workload is going to go up to 12, 15 hours outside of class per week. It's a ton of work for a 2 credit hour class. So, sorry, my phone went off. That's going to be a big thing that I see a lot of students they're struggling on, is they don't spend enough time studying. Like I said, 10 hours is not actually going to be enough for that. I want to see something like 20, 30 hours. Normal first semester is going to be 13 to 15 credit hours. Then your spring semester is going to be 16, 18 credits. So with 13 to 15 credit hours that first semester, you'd be surprised how much time you can actually spend studying throughout the day and still have your evenings free. If you woke up at 7:30 each day, like many of your classes will actually be, and started studying in between classes from there, you can get most of that work done. But lack of studying enough, that's the big one.
Amen. Now we've got 2 questions here that are kind of similar. Well, the first one says, what exactly is the process for transferring AP credit to Purdue? You may have already addressed that. The second question says, it's from P Health, Chris, Joey, to everyone. My son Joey is in running start and has spent the last 2 years attending a local college with dual high school credit. How do we get those classes assessed? How do we get those to determine the credit?
So
I lost the question, but I think that's how do we get that classwork assessed for credit transfer to Purdue?
So for the AP credit, a lot of times when you go in and take the AP exams, it'll ask you where you want to transfer or where you want to send those scores. If not, you can just get in contact with College Board and they'll send your scores to Purdue. With transfer credit, you can do it two ways. You can do it snail mail, just make sure it's in a signed, sealed envelope and have it sent to Purdue's admissions office. Or you can just have whatever institution, you can have their registrar's office send your transcripts to admissions@purdue.edu, and it'll be evaluated from there. And it does take, with transfer credit especially, it does take quite a while. That's strictly because, if they're still doing it the way they always have been, they do it by hand. And everybody is sending in transcripts and AP credit and everything. So it does take some time for that dual credit transfer credit to actually post. But that's how you would do it. You just have those institutions send it to Purdue, and it'll be evaluated and post to your transcript.
Okay, that's great. So how do Project Lead the Way courses transfer over, specifically the engineering courses? Also, should I transfer them?
Unfortunately, we don't accept Project Lead the Way courses.
Okay. Is it difficult to become an engineering major when admitted as an exploratory studies major?
So there are a couple of different actually get into engineering. It would be a CODO, no matter range of degree, it would be CODO. And one to CODO into first year engineering, take whatever remaining class you may need, and then T2M is what we call it, where you go from first year into your intended major. So that would be one route. The other route is to CODO into your intended major, but that is usually much more difficult. The GPA is usually much higher. You have to have a lot of classes. For instance, mechanical engineering. I believe they usually have engineering 131, 132, along with all the other first year classes, and 12 additional classes that are like for ME student stuff to even CODO directly into mechanical engineering. You generally can't get engineering 132 at the very least, if not 131 as well, unless you're in first year engineering. So sometimes CODOing directly into your major is not possible. You would CODO into first year and then go into your major. But that is the process. I'm just reading your question over again. Is it difficult? If you have a high GPA, then you are obviously going to be a little bit more competitive at this point in time. Our CODO requirements are it's space availability. So that is one reason why you want to have your GPA extremely high. That way you can make that case that you should be in engineering.
Right. Here's a question. What should I have already done or prepared before STAR? What if my start date is before I get my AP exam results?
So that process, the only thing you should have done for STAR, as far as what I would like you to have for your advising session, is specifically that student information form, because you'd be surprised how much I actually use that to prep for the advising session we will have, especially now because everything is online. Because everything is online, I'm going to rely more on that so I can get a lot of preparation work done so we can save more time and actually have more conversation with you. What if your start date is before your AP exams or AP results come out? This happens with almost everybody. Now, the process this year is going to be a little bit different. We are not going to go based on predicted scores. We're not going to go based on predicted scores. Everybody should be already set in specific first. Be like, if you were to go into the course request system, you could see a normal plan of study there with Calc 1, engineering, history, things like that. And if you could show us that you have a 4 or 5, whatever is necessary, then from there you can make adjustments. If you actually request classes if you request classes and that's all done for this coming semester, and then your AP exam results come out, you can generally go back in, depending on when you inform us of all of this, you can generally go back in and make adjustments from there. And if it's not possible before your schedule is actually created, you can go back in after your schedule is created and actually register for the classes. So there are multiple times when you can go back in and make adjustments. We just need to actually see that you have this specific grade.
That's great. Well, we've got you. You've done your job. Great, great, great. So now, of course, if you have other questions, we can come back later. We just want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to get all types of questions answered. So we're going to move over. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a point for the student that asked about CODO. We do, MEP works very closely with Jeff and first year engineering and the students to make sure that you're taking the right classes and that you're taking the path that gives you as quick a path as possible to get into engineering. We've had a pretty good success rate, and we do have a learning community that also has been helpful in making that transition. So reach out to MEP. We work with admissions, not admissions, with the advisors. And in essence, we don't counter what they say. We just try to facilitate you as you navigate through the process of codoing. So I'm glad you asked that question.
Right.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Womack. So we're going to, since we're on the subject of learning communities, within our learning community, the MEP learning community, we've got someone to talk about housing and learning communities. And so, and we do consider students from both first year engineering and exploratory studies for our learning community. So at this point, with no further ado, Randy Purvis.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today, Derek. I actually will leave the details of the MEP learning community up to you and your staff. I just know more general, I have more general information regarding learning communities and housing. I did prepare a PowerPoint, but given the nature of this, I'll just go ahead and have a more relaxed discussion. Our housing contract deadline is June 5th. If you are on different parts of the website, you might still see the May 5th deadline. And side note, I apologize, my cat will be in front of me at some point when I'm talking, so you will see him. He's behind me at the moment. But the June 5th deadline has been extended because Purdue extended their acceptance deadline to June 1st. And for those of you that have already accepted and possibly signed a housing contract already, know that there's a couple of business days in between accepting admission, paying the deposit, and then when the housing contract becomes available. So that's why we give that buffer window from June 1st to June 5th to get your housing contract in. In the housing contract, you get to, as a freshman, rank your 7 different preferences of amenity styles. You don't actually get to choose your housing, your building necessarily as a first year student. You get to do that every year after your freshman year, but you do get to rank your amenity styles. And the reason we do that is because each amenity style has a range of prices. So if you're looking at something within a certain budget, you'll know to rank that as one of your higher choices. We try to get everyone into their top preferences. That's not always possible, especially if you rank a private room with air conditioning or a single room with air conditioning as your top choice. I will guarantee you we will not have any of those available. Those are pretty much all snagged up by our upper class students. I do want to share something with you on our website. So I am going to pull this little thing up in a second. Well, it's on our housing website, and it's a room rates tool for those of you that have seen it. So you can put in different parameters of what you're looking for as far as air conditioning or double versus single versus triple, and it'll spit out all the different available amenities that are within that price range. It's a little misleading because sometimes it'll spit out a triple room that's available. That's the same price as one of the double rooms, specifically in McCutcheon, Harrison, Earhart, or Shreve. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we've got a lot of questions about this. Those triple rooms are not available there's only 2 in each building. So building housing 800 students, there's actually only 2 of those available. And those are already taken up by our upper class students. So just keep that in mind if you see those. You'll also choose a dining plan. So we have 4 different options of dining plans. 2 of them are unlimited. 1 is for 13 meal types a week and 1 is for 8. And the unlimited ones, the difference between the 2 is a difference in dining dollars, which is just a declining balance account that you can use at any of our retail locations, any of our markets or restaurants on campus, such as Starbucks. And we have 3 Starbucks on campus, and I may or may not be obsessed with them. But so those dining dollars come in addition to the meal plan. So the unlimited, the only difference between the 2 unlimited plans are just the amount of dining dollars. And then the other 2, the 13, I believe, has 125 dining dollars on it, and then the 8 has 0 dining dollars on it. So you get to choose the ones that really fit your needs. I will say the best rule of thumb in choosing a meal plan is going to be whether or not you are used to a hot breakfast every morning. So if you're used to eating eggs, bacon, the works, the unlimited are probably going to be right for you. However, if you're more of an on-the-go cereal, bagel, piece of fruit type thing, I think the 13 meal plan will probably be your best bet, just because that'll get you 2 meals a week, or excuse me, 2 meals a day, 2 meal swipes a day, plus the dining dollars that you can use. Our dining courts are not open on Sunday evenings, so that's why it's 13 instead of 14. So it averages out to the 2 per day plus the 1 on Sunday. I'm trying to think what else. Our learning community priority deadline did already pass on April 15th. However, you can still apply to learning communities. I know a lot of them are still open and still have spaces. I do know the MEP learning community does still have availability in it, so that's an awesome opportunity for you. I know that was really quick and fast, so I can take whatever questions or anything people might have regarding housing or dining or learning communities in general.
So yeah, go ahead and put your questions in. Are you able to change your meal plan mid-year if you discover you want to upgrade? That's a big question.
I feel like that question was planted because yes, you can. You can upgrade at any point. So if you start with a 13 or you start with an 8 and you realize I'm eating way not enough, like I need more food, I need more meals a day, you can always up your meal plan to unlimited or from an 8 to a 13 or whatever at any point during the year. However, to decrease your meal plan, you can only do that at the turn of the semester. So say you started with one of the unlimited plans and you realize this is way too much for me, like there's no way this is not worth it. You can only decrease at spring semester. We do give you we give you a week from the first day of classes until that Sunday to determine if you are on the right meal plan, and if you decide that this is too much for me, I can definitely live with a lower one, you can change within that week. Because that way we give you enough of a cushion so you understand how much you eat, what your schedule is going to look like, your routine and all that. But yeah, you can always increase at any time during the semester, but decreasing you can only do at the semester breaks.
Why should a student consider being in a learning community? As we go, we're going to move toward talk about the MEP learning community, but they should at least know, why should you even consider doing that?
Yeah, so learning communities are wonderful. We have over 90. We increase our learning communities every year. I'm actually the advisor for one of our learning communities, but learning communities are not required, but they are residential communities of students that live together, and the community is either based on major specific, college specific, or they're based on thematic. So like we have one called EPICS, which is engineering projects and community service. That's one of our most popular. David could probably tell you how popular that one is. We have lots of different engineering learning communities. We have specialized ones. We have ones that are more generalized. But the learning community is going to give you specific access to your faculty members as well as other members of the community. Some of them you'll take similar classes, the same classes together. So not only are you living around each other, but you're also in the same courses. So if you are having issues with an assignment or a project, you guys have each other to be able to bounce ideas off of. You build a richer bond with the students around you, and there's a lot of extracurricular components of the learning communities too. For example, the one that I advise is our executive and residence learning community, and it's thematic based. It's not based within a major. And we are, well, prior to the situation we're in now, we were going to be able to take our students out to visit some of our industry leader alumni. We have a bunch in Silicon Valley that have come to campus and been a part of our executive and residence program. And part of this community, our extracurriculars would take our students out to meet and to be in the spaces with those people. So each learning community has different components like that. Most of our learning communities are for first year students. I believe that MEP is for first and second year students. They can confirm that, but yeah, it's a really great experience, builds quick bonds, gets you closer with the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis.
So, well, I'm going to let David address one of these questions, but where do you go on the website to confirm your learning community choice if you submitted prior to the 4/15 deadline? Is it too late? I guess is what they're asking.
Where do you go to the website? So you will be sent, they're doing learning community placements right now. They hope to have those done by the end of the month. But given the current state of where we are as far as summer housing and all that goes, we're not going to know physical placement quite yet, but the students should be receiving their notifications hopefully by the end of the month, if not the start of May, if they submitted by April 15th. So you'll receive communication from the learning communities office if you were placed in one around that time. There's nowhere you have to go specifically to accept it, I believe. You just need to be in communication with whoever contacts you regarding your placement.
Question, is there anywhere I can cook for myself?
Absolutely. So yes, all of our halls have some type of kitchenette or kitchen for the students' use. Some of our halls have a little bit more expansive kitchens or kitchenettes, just depending on what hall it is. But yes, there is a space to cook in every single one of our halls. We ask that you do bring your own cooking utensils, dishes, and all that.
Okay. Quick question, are accommodations being made for COVID-19? Will hand sanitizers be available?
So this is something we've already done. Yay us. We've already had hand sanitizers out all the time. But yes, we actually are making a lot of different guideline changes for food serving, for social distancing, all that. We're making decisions on a month-by-month basis right now. And right now we're focusing on what our summer is going to look like. And then next month we're going to be looking at, actually the next 2 months, we're going to be looking at what our June and July and August look like. So we'll know more specifications about what we are doing as far as in the halls and in the dining courts at that point. But yes, we've got, we're very proud of our cleaning efforts our places are spotless, honestly. They're some of the greatest, cleanest spots on campus, I would say, are in our dining courts and in our residence halls. So we really didn't have to do much else in addition to what we were already doing, but we'll still continue those efforts once school picks back up.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Derek?
Yes.
Derek, if I can interrupt, we've had a question that Lisa has been ever so patient regarding asking the MEP Living and Learning Community dorm. Where is that located?
That will be located in Earhart Hall. We have 2 tracks within the MEP learning community. And what's so funny about this is there the opportunity to be in with either the academic boot camp learning community track, which will have with it connected to it calculus, chemistry, epics. The epics class will also be a part, as well as engineering 180, which is a first year engineering class. The other track opportunity, which is not necessarily dorm based, as long as you live in the for one track you need to live in the residence halls. For the other track, excuse me, you have to live in Earhart. For the other residence halls, for the other track, you can be in any residence hall. As long as you are in a residence hall, you can be in the MEP general learning community. And the only requirement of that learning community is that you take engineering 180, which is a one credit hour class. We're going to move on and we're going to come back. We're going to come back because we want to hit a lot of things, but I don't want to leave out Lori Pence. Someone called her the money lady. I don't know if she wants to be called that, but we're just so glad to have her. And so we're going to give you some time right now, Lori,
Okay.
and I'm going to go ahead and look for your stuff so I can be able to share that with them.
Okay, while Derek is looking for that stuff, my name is Lori Pence and I'm the Associate Director of Student Success. One of my hats that I wear is I administer the scholarship portfolio for the College of Engineering. I'm also the liaison between the College of Engineering and financial aid. And what Derek is putting up on the screen is a letter. I always have several discussions during the spring semester regarding affordability because finances is a main driver in the college choice process. And then when you bring in COVID-19 and many families' finances have been impacted by this. And so now affordability has become all the more important factor in determining which college to select for the fall. And so I devised a letter that is available on the OFE Facebook page. But Derek is going to make this available to all of the attendees. And basically it hits on several of the elements that I discuss daily with families, as well as when I present this live, is to kind of touch on some avenues, scholarships being one. And so I will just kind of lead with that. The College of Engineering awards about $3.5 million in scholarships annually. A majority of those scholarships actually go to our current students because the donors, which are primarily our alumni, there are specific major requirements for those scholarships. And since at Purdue, we admit everyone into first year and we don't directly admit to a specific school, that eliminates a majority of our scholarships for first year students. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of funds available as an admitted student, but students will have opportunities to apply for scholarships as a rising sophomore, junior, senior. Now, as I say that, please know that each of our schools have a different size of endowment and scholarship opportunities. And this is driven mainly by the number of alumni that the school has graduated. And so mechanical and electrical computer engineering are our two largest schools in regards to enrollment. They have graduated the most alumni. And so therefore they have the most scholarship dollars that students can apply for. Unfortunately, biomedical engineering, which is a popular school, but it's one of our relatively new schools. And so they don't have as many scholarship opportunities as some of our larger schools. So I don't want to give the impression that it's all equitable, because the dollars do vary by the discipline that you're interested in. And I also think it's important. I'm all about being transparent. And the average scholarship amount is about $2,300. And I think that's really important for our non-resident families that are looking at a much larger cost of attendance than resident families. So this is really about this letter of, okay, Purdue's at the top choice, but maybe Purdue is not exactly hitting the top choice in regards to affordability or the financial aid package that was awarded, that there are some other elements that families have chosen to look at in other ways other than scholarships to kind of offset the cost of Purdue. So that's one document. And the other document was to definitely look at the College of Engineering Scholarship webpage. That really gives you some ideas of looking at the discipline that you're interested in going into. In many of the schools, not quite all, but a majority of the schools do have information regarding scholarships, either the number of scholarships that they have available, the process for applying for those scholarships. So at this point, because I know I could talk about affordability for hours, are there any questions at this point regarding scholarships or other ways of affording a Purdue engineering degree?
I want to, and as you guys put that question, your questions into the chat, I'd like for everyone who's interested in getting that letter that kind of spells out some great information that you need to know, to go ahead and put your name and your email into the chat so we can make sure we'll get that to you this week. Now, I know you alluded, Lori, to, and I see something here about co-op internships. Are those good ways are those legitimate ways that parents can look at as in terms of a way to offset the cost of college?
It's an excellent way. And sometimes far greater on a monetary value than scholarships that are offered through the schools. Definitely for those students that are here to get a bachelor's degree and then go right into the industry to work, those students are going to need some type of professional development opportunities, applied experience before they're a senior. And that is either going to fall into an internship at co-op or in some capacity undergraduate research. And that's why we really want to get to know the students. And that is something that information is going to be collected by the advisor and part of the discussions each semester when the student is registering for classes. But for those students that really want to get industry experience, internships and co-ops are great. They're very similar in nature, but they also have some very distinct differences. Co-op is administered out of an office at Purdue. It's called the Office of Professional Practice. And students can get involved in a 5 rotation or 3 rotation. And each rotation almost equates to an academic semester, including summer. And ultimately, the students are going to be rotating between being on campus to take classes and then applying that knowledge directly in a workplace environment. And so when the students aren't on campus, you're not getting charged tuition and the students are earning money. And students can earn between 10 and 15,000 per rotation. However, these rotations, I often get this question, these rotations, these placements are all over the country. They're not in Indiana. They're just not in West Lafayette. And so these students will be having to pay for room and board, but that is a negotiable factor. So depending on how much the student makes from earnings and how much they have to pay towards living expenses will ultimately determine how much they can recoup from their experience. But the industry knows that the students are here that are involved in co-ops and internships, that their main driver is obviously getting this applied experience. But they also know that many students are involved in these opportunities because they need to make money to help offset their educational expenses. And these companies are going to work with students as best they can to make housing very affordable because obviously, again, these companies are wanting to recruit great talent. And again, companies are going to need to know that they have to make these opportunities also very affordable for students to participate in.
So I wanted to add to that. I was contacted by the Office of Professional Practice because they're trying to grow the number of students that are underrepresented that participate in co-op. And so I'm going to see if we can get them on a call, Derek, before we end this series.
Yes.
And just talk about those opportunities, because a lot of times students just don't know, or they don't know how straightforward and easy it is to get involved, and they don't apply. And they have a lot of openings, and there are really good jobs there. So I agree with Lori. There are opportunities out there for students to really not only get money, but get very meaningful experience while they're in college.
Right.
And while you're talking, Mrs. Womack, can you just, for those that just joined us, explain this whole deal? What is Scholly and what is this opportunity that MEP is attempting to create for students?
Well, it's basically a scholarship database, and it matches students that have, actually they're looking for more students that are pursuing engineering and STEM fields. There are monies out there. Every year money is turned away because people don't apply. So there are a lot of scholarships, but sometimes students get frustrated just going through the process and applying to a lot of different places. So Scholly is a place where those scholarships that are out there are pulled into one pool, and they can match you with a scholarship and you can apply for it, or you can elect not to. But it's sort of just a way to focus you on scholarships that are out there for you and give you that extra edge. The membership is very nominal, but I don't want that to be a deterrent for a student. So we got a limited number of subscriptions to Scholly. And I wanted to give those first come, first serve to the first 50 students or so that accept their applications, especially those that have either been on these calls or have been involved in MEP programs. So I got a lot of emails on my chat, and I've been sending those license applications out while we're talking. So if you haven't received yours and you want to apply, just send me an email and we'll get that out to you. They're going to have some webinars on how to best position yourself, and I'll try to put the link also on the MEP website. It's something that anybody can go in and do. So it's very open. It's an open service, similar to, it's not exactly like Fast Track, but there are a lot of programs like that out there too. Hopefully that answers your question.
Great, great.
And
there's from Bobby to everyone, new press release. It looks like Purdue plans to be open on campus this fall.
You got it before I did. That's the main campus, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, at least we can get back to life as normal.
Yes, and we're all looking forward to that.
But we won't be able to hug people. That's a problem. No hugging.
No hugging.
Mm. Okay.
So, Lori, I don't know. We don't want to cut you off. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure we address before we move forward?
You know, I have these conversations daily, either via email or phone, and especially for families, you know, non-residents, but by and large, a college education is a huge investment. It's a lot of money, and families have to decide collectively together what that return on investment is, how much families are willing to pay, and if debt is going to be taken out and equate to that return on investment. And, you know, there's some uncertainty, and there are also parameters for those families that have already been impacted by COVID-19 with loss of income, loss of a job, or medical expenses, or a unique extraordinary expenses, that the Division of Financial Aid already has a process in place to be able to handle that. And so before a family decides that, you know, we didn't receive much and we've been impacted by COVID-19, so Purdue is definitely off the table, to really exhaust all options before you get to that decision, and that the financial aid office is well positioned to be able to talk to families about their special circumstance, how that may or may not impact their initial financial aid award notification that was sent out.
Okay, that's good information. David Boker comes to us as the director of the Office of Future Engineers. And I'd like for you to talk to us a little bit about, I just had someone trying to get it, I hope they didn't leave us, about the EPICS program, as well as advice that you can offer to students and how they can prepare for Purdue.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and I'll be brief because I know you've got probably some more good questions that you want to ask. But I am David. I'm the director of our Office of Future Engineers, so we're outreach and recruiting arm, and we're so excited that you guys have joined this, and we can't wait to see people, even if we can't hug Virginia, on campus soon. Yeah, the EPICS program, one of the strengths of Purdue is we really balance out well the theory and the practice. And so there's multiple ways to be able to get that. But what companies, in order, when Lori was talking about internships and co-ops, the things you can really do to help yourself while at Purdue is to take advantage of the resources where you're doing real world projects. And one of those options is EPICS. And you can do that in the learning community. You can come in and you're actually going to be working for a community partner. And it's like you're your own engineering company. You're working with not only engineers, but students from all over campus. And you may be working at a local elementary school. It may be Riley's Children's Hospital. And you're doing these real, you have a customer and you have to deliver the goods. And so, and you have a budget. It's all the fun things that engineers love, all the documentation, all of the budgeting, all those sorts of things. And it gives you that experience. You can do EPICS throughout your 4 years. So if you don't do the learning community, know that that's an opportunity that you can do as a technical elective. But EPICS is just one of those types of experiences. And so being able to talk about the things that you do within whatever first year engineering course that you take, and being able to talk about those projects and how they impact people and how you did the problem solving and the teaming. And there are so many resources from our Center for Career Opportunities to the co-op office to MEP to so many different places that can help you those professional skills and being able to communicate that technical ability. And so it could be through student organizations that you get even more technical experience, whether it's the Baja car or fuel cell competition or those sorts of things. So know that one of Purdue's strengths is balancing that. Yeah, you're going to take some math classes, but you're also going to have multiple, you're going to have labs within many of your courses, but you're also going to have other opportunities to flex those engineering muscles and actually do engineering and impact campus and the local community in doing so. As far as my advice right now would be, first of all, we'd love for you to come to Purdue. I don't know if you can see my Purdue flag behind me there. It's got some duct tape on it. I'm doing the best I can to have a cool background. But we'll have some of these available for those of you who come to campus and the Office of Future Engineers, and we'll be tossing them out to you. So we'd love for you to come to Purdue, but really read your email. Read those emails that are coming, your Purdue email, so that you're up to speed on what's going on as far as your registration is going, what's going on campus. You can already, if you've already made your admissions deposit, you can already register for visa and that process. And then the other advice I typically always give, although you might be feeling you've had more family time than you ever needed, I always encourage students the summer before they come is to enjoy that time with your family. I know it's stressful right now, it's crazy, but honestly, this could be the last summer that you're ever home if you get an internship or if you're doing co-ops or those sorts of things as far as that family time. And so I always encourage students to really try and enjoy that, and, you know, flick your little brother's hair, do all those fun things, just enjoy that time together. So that's my advice, and we would love to see you on campus, and I'm gonna stop there and let you guys ask any questions you've got and turn it back over to Derek.
Two questions. Two questions. One is about class sizes. David, what are class sizes like? And then the second question is, what exactly is V-Star?
Yeah, okay. So as far as class size, and then I could have Jeff, if he wants to talk about V-Star, we could do that. Class size ranges, so across the College of Engineering, the average is about 45, but that's a little bit of a misconception freshman year. You're gonna have some larger lectures, typically the engineering courses. So the EPICS lecture part or collaborative classroom part, those courses are typically 120. So engineering 131, 132, that might sound big, but you're in teams of 4 by week 2, sometimes earlier, you're already on teams, you're doing small projects. We use flipped lecture, which I think you'll see more of this in the fall, given this is a way of social distancing where we, and we're ahead of the curve here, where you actually watch kind of the concepts from home and then you come in, and that's where you work on teams and different projects. So we'll see how teaming looks and different things work in the fall. As a sophomore, you're still gonna maybe have some courses that are a bit larger in the 100 to 200 range. It depends on the major you pick, but as you move into sophomore, junior, senior year, those get dramatically smaller. Courses like calculus, chemistry, physics, freshman year can range from 150-ish to 400-ish. But again, you're gonna have either what we call a recitation, which is small breakout groups, some way of getting individual work with a smaller group or labs. And so again, it depends a little what school you go into. I had a student in materials who they were the only one in that class, and it wasn't meant to be an independent study, and they weren't so excited about that because they got asked all the questions. So it really varies between, but you can make things smaller. Freshman year, for example, EPICS, you're on a team, those teams range from 8 to maybe 25. So then there's another way of freshman year having some of those smaller courses. Speech, English, those will be typically about 25 to 32.
That's great. Jeff, can you tell us about V-Star?
And I'm just going to real quick second what David said. Those class sizes, it's hard to say what a typical class size is because they're just all over the spectrum. As he said, you get your math lectures. In some of those classes, there's almost 500 students in the lecture, but as he also said, you get the recitations and they're down to 48 students or so, much smaller, and that's your Q&A time. But then, if you have English 106, you may have a class that has 20 students, but that's also going to be broken up into classes that are like sections that have 10 students. So it's literally all over the spectrum that first year. Once you start to progress in your plan of study in your second year, third year, then it starts to become a little bit more consistent with what David, consistent class size, go along with what David said. What exactly is V-STAR? V-STAR and STAR, if you know what STAR is, they're exactly the same, except the V in this case means virtual. This year, there really isn't going to be a difference. They're all going to be virtual. STAR, V-STAR, that is essentially your first meeting with your advisor, and we're going to try to do a face-to-face meeting through WebEx or Zoom or Skype or something like that, whatever we can work out with the student. And if that doesn't work, then we'll just resort to email. But that's essentially going to be our first time speaking and getting to know the student, what your aspirations are. My first questions to the student are, you know, what is your AP, or what AP do you have coming in? IB, transfer credit. What do you want to do for a major? And it's perfectly fine if you don't have any idea. I'm not expecting that, but just have some sort of an idea about what you're wanting. That gives me an idea about what classes I should be advising, especially when we get to things like your science selective, etc. So it's more just like an introduction, and then we would go right into talking about fall classes. Really, what do you plan on taking for the fall semester? Are you going to be in band? Are you going to be doing a learning community? Are you going to be doing ROTC, epics? All of that stuff is what we're going to be talking about, so we can craft that fall semester schedule.
That's fantastic. Now, there was a question earlier related to extenuating circumstances, changes in financial situations. It may be that you completed the FAFSA, but then, you know, especially with all the circumstances surrounding COVID, financial situations within families change. And so I'm going to direct this question to Lori. Just in general, how does financial aid, is that something that you can take to financial aid? Can there be a reconsideration of your award based on extenuating circumstances?
Okay. Yes, I can address that. Right now, in response to COVID-19, the Office of Financial Aid, their landing page right now speaks to COVID-19. It normally doesn't look like that. Normally you have to really navigate things around to find, to look for the things that you need. But if there's a positive out of COVID-19, is that DFA's landing page has become extremely user-friendly. And so once you get to the main webpage for the Purdue Financial Aid Office, you will scroll like halfway down and they have an FAQ. And one of the very first FAQs is about loss of income. And if a family has already incurred a loss of income of 8 weeks, that's kind of the magical marker. If you know now you will have 8 weeks, then I strongly suggest that you reach out to them. There is a form that you fill out and you will identify the circumstance that you have. And so let's just say loss of income. The financial aid is going to want to know how long you've had the loss of income, how long you project that the income will be lost, and then that you will estimate what your income will be for 2020. As many are aware that when you filed the FAFSA, you used your tax income from 2018. And so the federal government, this is just not Purdue specific, allows professional judgment for those institutions that award Title IV aid, have the ability to rework the calculation based on estimates rather than actual income to then reconfigure a new EFC. So all of that can be discussed through the financial aid office, but right now you just need to get to the main landing page for the Office of Financial Aid for Purdue University. Scroll about halfway down. The very first FAQ is loss of income, and then it has a link to the special circumstance form.
That I know you used an acronym. It stood for what was the family contribution?
It's EFC. It's estimated family contribution, and that is what financial aid offices use to award students financial aid. It will determine if a student demonstrates financial need. If the EFC is less than the cost of attendance, then a student demonstrates financial need, and then they will use that information to guide them through the awarding of various financial aid. So your EFC is the same no matter what institution you are applying to. That stays stagnant. Where you will see some variation is how much need you demonstrate will depend on the cost of attendance, because how much it costs to attend Purdue is very different than other institutions. And so what I always encourage students and families to pay attention to is sometimes not so much how much scholarships they're receiving, but what is that out-of-pocket cost going to be for that family? So once you take the cost of attendance for that particular institution, minus any of the assistance that you are receiving, what is that net out of pocket? And that's what you should be comparing from various institutions, instead of comparing money that you received. You know, what is that out of pocket direct cost going to be for you? That's what you should be comparing.
Thank you. Well said. Now, I'm gonna, before we move on, we're going to turn things over to Mrs. Womack, but we do want to talk a little bit more about the MEP learning community, because I went through that really quickly. One of the benefits of the MEP learning community is the fact that our students get to be a part of the EPICS learning community, which is very difficult to get in. So it's almost like being in two learning communities. You're actually only in our learning community if you're in the academic bootcamp learning community, but you also have the opportunity to take the EPICS class, which you will find to be extremely beneficial. So you could get the benefits of that. Now, in order to do that, you would have to go through our boot camp. I'm gonna, I don't think anyone's could talk about the boot camp better than Mrs. Womack, but that will undoubtedly be a virtual experience that will help you be prepared, help you to feel confident in the fall, to be able to compete globally. As you probably know, Purdue has close to 20% international students, and in many cases, students, their curriculum is not 26 as America. America is 26 in preparing students for college, but in many cases, many of these students that come from other countries have seen all this before, and it's review. And so for many American students, getting up to speed and being prepared and feeling confident in yourself and your abilities, this is where our boot camp comes in. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Womack, who has way more experience than me, but I just want to make sure she gets an opportunity to address the students, because there's probably other questions you have. And so if those questions come in, we'll go ahead and let those be addressed at that time. But with no further ado, here's the director of the Minority Engineering Program, MEP, as we call it.
Derek is so special. Oh, well, it's been good listening.
Oh, are we frozen?
Looks like Miss Womack is frozen.
It looks like she's frozen. Wow. She'll be back.
We just seemingly have bad juju on our MEP Live with Miss Womack. Perhaps you can pick up the slack there,
Sure.
Derek, please.
Sure. So let's see. We talked about a lot of things. So students, before we go today, are there any things we have not talked about, concerns that you have? Feel free to break in.
This is a parent, Lisa. I want to know when is the academic boot camp still scheduled for the same dates?
Yes, currently it is. It will be. It will no doubtedly be virtual and all the things that we typically do as much as we possibly can. The whole goal of the boot camp is to get you comfortable, and confident, and give you real exams, because many of the exams take our students for a loop. Most students, if you talk to the average student, school starts in August, and about the second week of September, you ask students, "Oh, how are you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing great." And then when they get those exams, they find out there's so much of because the math and oftentimes the chemistry, because they're multiple choice, they're more like standardized exams, and there's so many, and there's no partial credit. For many students, it takes them for a loop. And so we will, during the boot camp, give you some experiences where this will not be new and fresh to you. You will have, and so while the other students are maybe looking like me pulling, they've lost their hair, your hair will still be intact. So yes, the dates are currently the same. The boot camp is a 5-week simulation of the first semester of freshman engineering.
Right, but is it going to be virtually or is it going to be on Purdue's campus?
It would be virtual. At this point, we have not received a go ahead to have any activities back on campus. So we can only assume we're prepared to do it in person, but that has not been lifted by the university. So all we can be assured of is we'll be prepared either way. But right now it looks like it's more than likely going to be virtual. But we've got some exciting things for you cooking.
Okay, thank you.
There was another question in the chat. Is boot camp a full-time all-day activity? My son doesn't finish his high school classes until June 21st. Now, yeah, we'll get with you. We've had students with similar circumstances, and we'll get what we can. If you can send me an email, and let me go ahead and give you my email right now, because you may have questions later, and we may have to take some things offline for individual circumstances. So, say if a student, we start the boot camp on Sunday the 14th, and you graduate the 15th. It happens about every other year. So my email address is very easy. It's my first initial and last name, dwilliams@purdue.edu. The next question is, what is the cost of the boot camp? The cost of the boot camp, we have a cost. We have a cost listed online. If you go, you can read about the boot camp. If it's virtual, it will not be the same price. I don't want to spill too much of the. We're still finalizing things, so I don't want to go into too much detail about the project. But I will say that what we've covered in the past are 4 key courses that students take. So everyone takes calculus, so we'll cover you with calculus. In terms of chemistry, there are many things that Purdue does not review, and for the average student, you haven't done chemistry. And so we happen to have the general chemistry coordinator leading the boot camp course. Also English. because it's primarily a composition course, as well as MATLAB, the programming language. So that is also introduced. And we also, in the past, have done a project, an engineering project. Is Mrs. Womack available? Bonnie? Bonnie?
She is not logged back in. She just sent a message that said that her computer crashed.
Oh
I'm
my.
hoping that that's not a permanent crash and it's just a reboot. And I'm sure she will join us. What
Okay,
I
there.
would say as it relates to the boot camp is that, you know, we are still in the process of determining exactly what boot camp will look like, and that it will likely be at a reduced cost, but we're not able to say exactly what those final numbers are, as we are still working through the specifics given our need to switch over to a virtual platform versus the normal platform of it being a 5-week time period on campus. So we do know that the cost will be revised, but we're not able to tell you exactly what that will be at this time.
Yeah, here's a question. What if my son has already taken all of these courses except MATLAB programming? And the question in essence is, will it still be a benefit? I can't tell you how many students or parents that I've talked to around this time of year. Matter of fact, I have a student that we spoke with that I met with a parent, and they really did not believe that their child needed, because their child was in their estimate, wonderfully prepared for Purdue, as most of our students are. It is so funny now, after their child attended boot camp, that child told me that the boot camp benefited him tremendously. I don't want to say any names, but this is a very common experience, because you don't know what you don't know. Because it's not a level playing field. In some course material, you may cover 10 of the 10 of the 12 chapters that cover calculus, or chemistry. But the way Purdue tests students and assesses students is for comprehensive understanding. So in other words, if you really know this material, it doesn't matter how it's presented, you know it. And so that is not how most students come to Purdue. And also competing with students who are who are 1 or 2 years ahead, who may be starting prepared for Calculus 3, but they, as a strategy, take Calculus 1 to ace it. And so so the boot camp is almost like insurance, because it will definitely not hurt you. But I've seen very few students who've had the testimony that they didn't need it and that it didn't benefit them. And we've been doing this since the late 80s. And so we've had students of all varieties. But it's also an experience that the students have felt so that they began to use as a community building tool. It's also, students become very close, and we're also looking at ways how we can make connections for the students during boot camp.
Derek, if I may chime in, this is Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie.
I'm back. So, hi, Lisa. I just read your message. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bonnie.
Hopefully,
Austin's on also.
Yes. I wanted to chime into that question. So the calculus, chemistry, and English lessons that we cover during the boot camp are actually a simulation at the very first semester at Purdue. So they would take the exact same curriculum that the students would take in math 161, in chemistry 115, and in English. And so I guess this goes back to the question of if the student has already taken all the classes. Even if your student has already taken all the AP classes in high school, the level of, I don't want to say hardness, but it's completely different when you take a class at Purdue University. The classes are challenging, and we have heard from all of the students that have taken this boot camp that it really makes a difference when they transition and take those classes during the summer, right before they come in as freshmen, and then they actually get to join those classes in the fall, and they're like, wow, I already did all of this work. So I think that is the added value to taking these classes in our boot camp. Of course, we are biased. We want you to take it. But again, the classes are being taught by either professors or graduate students, and it is exactly the same curriculum that they will see in the fall semester at Purdue University. So I think that is the most important part of us offering these classes during the boot camp summer. And also, hopefully that clarifies the question. There is another question that I think, Derek, you might be able to respond to that one. I'm reading from the chat message. It says, when will the online price be updated? As listed, it would mean he's late and there will be a late fee. Is this all going to be updated and the registration date extended?
Yes, we have listed on the camp websites for all our camps that due to COVID-19, we are extending deadlines. So that should not be a problem. The price will be updated, and we hope to have those prices updated in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys just be in touch with us, because we will be updating our website. If you have not already gone to our website, you should go to purdue.edu/MEP. And under student success, you will find the academic boot camp.
There is another
here's another
question that has come in from Malcolm. Do you have to be an MEP to do academic boot camp?
No, you do, and vice versa. You do not have to be. Do you have to be an MEP to do boot camp? No, MEP is totally optional. MEP includes tutoring services. MEP is really a community and being a part of community, and we're just finding ways to creating ways to create opportunities for you to be successful academically and to make connections. So it's up to you whether or not you participate in the tutoring services or the many workshops that we offered, where employers come in and offer professional networking opportunities, as well as the learning community opportunities. Everything is optional, but I'd like to think beneficial, that the students want to do it. You don't have, on the first day of classes, I can't tell you how many MEP students show up, and they just show up because this is community to them.
Are there requirements to attending the academic boot camp, Mr. Williams?
Well, all that will be spelled out. Will be spelled out to you when we send out the materials. You can get some information right now on our website, because on the application, if you click on apply, when you go to the boot camp, it tells you everything. You have to have accepted your admission to Purdue. You have to be a Purdue, in other words, you have to be a Purdue student. That is the key requirement. That is probably being admitted and then accepting your offer is the key. And you have to be in either first year engineering or exploratory studies. Those are students that we accept into the boot camp.
And then, Mr. Williams, we have another question. Do you have to do academic boot camp to be a part of the MEP learning community?
No, there are two options. You can either do the MEP General, which with that option, the only class requirement is Engineering 180, which is a professional seminar for students that helps prepare you academically as well as professionally. In terms of the academic boot camp, that is of course optional. It's something that students sign up for. That is an opportunity to help you feel more comfortable. So it is neither are required. Have I answered that question? Did I answer that question?
Chris or Joey, was that? Yes, that was a yes.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
back.
it's 5:07. I would like to say next week we will have our parent-to-parent conversation. So we're bringing parents of MEP students who have had this wonderful experience of, parents. I know you probably say, "Oh my goodness, I wish I had other parents who knew what I was going through." So we're bringing parents who have lived this experience and who continue to live this experience for a parent-to-parent dialogue. That's going to be next Tuesday, April 28th, from 6 to 7 p.m. And we want to thank you. Remember, if you have any questions, send us an email at dwilliams@purdue.edu. You guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe. Know that we're here, and if there's anything you need, just give us a buzz or give us a email. The link has been shared for academic boot camp.
Also, I want to say something before we end. There is a question from John Olson asking, are there any other class requirements to be a part of MEP at Purdue? So I just want to re-emphasize that MEP, for you to be a part of MEP, all you have to do is show up and hang out with us and use our services. That means go for free tutoring. I'm gonna pull up the programs right now. You can become a tutor or you can just serve as a tutee. So go for free tutoring. You can work with us. You can just come by the center and say hello. So MEP is not like a club or anything that you need a membership for. And I just wanna emphasize that because it seems like we have a little misunderstanding. So we are a department with the College of Engineering that we are interested in the advancement of minorities in engineering. And so with that said, we provide services for pre-college students, for undergraduate students, for graduate students. And all you have to do to be a part of MEP is just come and take advantage of those resources. Come and attend the symposiums, come and attend the professional development series, come and attend the free tutoring, come work for us if you need a job, so that's what MEP is about. So I guess hopefully does that answer your question, John, about the requirements to be a part of MEP at Purdue?
John's on mute.
He said yes on the chat message. Okay, so Derek, I'll give it back to you if you want to say goodbye.
Thank you guys so much for coming. We look forward to seeing you. We will have MEP live next month as well. So look forward to our communications. You guys have a good night. Thank you to our great panelists. Let's give them a great big hand clap or wave.
Thank you.
Have a good night. You guys were fantastic.
You say next week or next month?
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Next week is parent-to-parent dialogue, and then next month you can expect more MEP Live.